everybody.
Hi.
This is going to be a very unconventional start to our podcast because we got like an hour into recording and my Wi-Fi turned off because my Wi-Fi has been quite shit lately and we lost everything. So if we sound a little weird,
Mm-hmm.
that's why.
Yeah, we're just struggling with the Great Depression over here. But like we will rise.
I don't know about all that. We gonna record again because we finishing this fucking episode tonight. That's what I'm saying. Welcome to the Play Choices podcast, the podcast you hear. I'm your host V. Normally I'm more cheery than this, but as you may understand, circumstances have not allowed for me to pretend to be very happy right now. So we are going to spend this episode discussing the first chapter, Foreign Affairs. This episode is not spoiler safe, so if you want to avoid spoilers for Foreign Affairs Chapter 1, please go read that chapter first. And this episode will be here for you to come back and listen. Lucas, would you like to formally introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Lucas. I'm the co-host. That's all I got.
That's me. Hi. So, I can't seem to start an episode without having to say something before we dive into the chapter. So, per the usual, per tradition around these parts, what we will be doing. I promise I'll keep it, short and sweet. It's not going to be like a 20-minute interlude like our previous episodes. But I do want to thank our listeners. Thank you for supporting the podcast. We restarted our socials over 3 weeks ago. If you listened to the introduction, the reintroduction, yada yada yada, you know that we had first recorded our first episode, as in I recorded my first episode like a year and a half ago and then left and then decided to restart it. So we really had to start from like zero, and we started from 3 weeks ago, and it has just been like amazing how much interaction and support that we've seen from the audience. And every single one of you who show love like on a consistent basis, like I know your name. I don't know your face, but I know your account. Like, I understand who you are, I know your personality and all this kind of stuff, and I just want you to know that I notice that kind of stuff, so I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And for those of you, I'm sure everyone who is listening to us found us through Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, so a lot of you probably know the struggle of trying to grow a new account. And we are trying to grow. That is something we are experiencing right now. And the biggest way that you can support us is to share our content. So if you know someone who is a huge Choices fan that hasn't tuned in to our podcast yet, put them on. If you see our post, we would love it if you would interact with it, like it, comment on it, reblog it on Tumblr, share it on your IG story, retweet it on Twitter. I mean, it just goes such a long way in terms of helping people find our content. Social media algorithm is really funky sometimes. I'm still trying to figure out what the secret sauce is of social media, but I know that if people interact with it, it's going to help me. So I appreciate it. And I just want you to know that every single share, I will make an effort to publicly acknowledge and also shout you out. Someone did that to me earlier this week. They had posted a screenshot on their Instagram. In fact, let me go ahead and shout them out right now. Hold up. Let's do this live.
Ooh, you heard it here,
Ooh,
folks, first.
you getting a shout out. Okay,
We
so
doing a
someone
live
had.
shout out.
It's Princess Ember Phoenix on IG posted a screenshot of them listening to our very first episode, like literally the episode that we recorded like a year and a half ago, with the caption catching up on the, and then they used my username on Instagram, which is how I saw it. And I put them on my Instagram story with, their permission. And I would just like to shout them out. Thank you so much for the support. And, I think that we can have a mutually symbiotic relationship, okay? You
Mm-hmm.
scratch my back, I scratch yours. You share my content, I acknowledge you publicly and share some of your content. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say that if you make an effort to support and kind of like put the word out about our podcast, I have no problem with publicly acknowledging you, sharing that shout out, and tagging you. That's what I do. You're nice to me, I'm nice to you. Just putting that out there. Every share really does like make a huge impact. It really, really does. So thank you so much. And also, if you are listening to the podcast, like please take a screenshot of it and like tag me in a post because I love like literally seeing how you all are engaging with the content. And honestly, like not to get sappy because I'm not like I don't like
Right.
talking about my
Right.
feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But Lucas is like, yeah, you're very emotional. Um but it did just make my my little Grinch heart swell a little bit. It just felt like a nice little tickle, just like a light little hey, we're listening to you.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, this really means a lot to her. She takes pride in this, and like, she's the type of person that when she feels like her efforts are being noticed and acknowledged and like have positive reviews, it truly just like a smile just rips across her face.
It's my love language, some might say.
Yes, words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation is my I give you acts of service, you give me words of affirmation, and that's the relationship we have. Oh, good lord. So yeah, I just appreciate all the support you have shown us so far. I appreciate all the support you are showing us currently, and I notice all of you, and I just really appreciate any way that you can help us, continue to grow our audience so we can continue to engage with all of you. So thank you so much. Um, let's get into the chapter,
Let's do it.
Lucas. As we said, we are talking about Foreign Affairs, Chapter 1, called First Term Jitters. The chapter summary says, Welcome to the Van Cross Institute, where the next generation of political leaders go to study politics, diplomacy, and how to avoid a scandal. And the genres are politics, scandal, romance, and then it also has a tag for being LGBTQ plus friendly. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it does have a tag for that. So first thing off the bat, we're getting a ton of foreshadowing about
Mm-hmm.
it being involved in a scandal.
Right.
I personally think this is like when a movie trailer comes up and
Mm-hmm.
you watch it and you're like, I think I know too much information about the movie
Right.
after watching it. Like, you ever just
Right.
see a movie trailer and you watch it and you're like, I don't even really have to buy a ticket for that
No, truly.
anymore.
There was this documentary on Netflix that was explaining why people think that the moon landing was fake. And within the first like 2 minutes, it was almost like they wrote the documentary as a thesis statement, and they were like, in this documentary, we think that the moon landing is fake because of this, 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 and this. And I was like, I don't need to watch it anymore. Like,
Here's the thing. Outlining the plot is good on like a college essay. I don't know if it translates to entertainment.
exactly, exactly.
Because a part of the pull of the plot is I love reading or watching something and just sitting there with like bated breath and being like, I don't know what's going to happen next. But now I know that there's going to be a scandal.
You know what? We say this, but Shonda Rhimes does it very well. Because she has a show called Scandal, and it's like, I wonder what that's going to be about. Scandal. She has a show called How to Get Away with Murder. I wonder what that's going to be about. Them getting away with murder. Now, am I saying the writers of Play Choice? Excuse me. Look at me about to plug in our own podcast.
The writers of the Play Choices podcast. Please tell us about it.
Oh, God. Am I saying the writers for the Choices app as well? Do they write as well? Shonda Rhimes, one of the best producers for TV dramas, in my opinion. No, but it's very heavy with the foreshadowing. Very heavy.
Very heavy-handed. Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. I can't really think of like any current TV shows that I've been watching. I don't know, Lucas. You were telling me about a book where it said they all die at the end. So I think that's more so a you
Yes,
a more
yes,
so a you
yes.
thing. You engage with like way more content that says in the upfront what's gonna happen.
But that still had a mystery aspect to it of like how they are going to die, and we'll talk about it as we get into the beginning of the chapter. The scandal is just like, just literally plain as day given to us. So it's just kind of like, okay, all right.
Yeah, there's like no anticipation, really.
At all.
They get rid of all pretense of mystery in like the first like 10 seconds of the podcast. So, as we have mentioned before in the upfront that this is like the second time we're recording this
Hmm.
podcast. And Lucas, I just want to make sure that we reiterate a point. There's something that you said to me about how you feel about two different books in the upfront when we first started recording that I just think is important to include in the episode.
Yes, absolutely. So what I initially said when we first started the podcast, the first time, was that
Because we're recording for the second time.
listen, we over here sounded like Trish from fucking Divergent. I was shot in my arm, and Ford knows that I got shot because he was beside me when I was shot. Guys, I promise we're only gonna mention that this is our second time recording, probably like 10
30 times. I'm gonna fucking talk about it 30 times because I'm so fucking mad about it, but please continue.
So initially, after playing this first chapter of Foreign Affairs, I felt my curiosity and drive for the book. I found it a little more entertaining than Open Heart. And I explained that because I feel like Open Heart's very much, growing up watching Grey's Anatomy and rewatching the series like 3 or 4 times gives me very been there, done that vibes. And Foreign Affairs was just like a breath of fresh air for me. And I now realize that I think it's just because, like, I don't think in a show or a book I've had anything dealing with politics because I tend to stray away from that when it comes to creative writing. So I think that's another reason why this book particularly piques my interest a little bit. And yeah, I mean, we'll get into it a little bit more throughout the conversation of the first chapter, but it still has its cliches and its ironies. But I don't know how I appreciate it. I don't know. There's something about this plot that I feel like, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I don't want to give too much away.
My response back to Lucas
Hmm.
was because you have to understand. So, number one, I just want to say this in the upfront. I normally try to avoid kind of talking about, like, if we're recording something for Ride or Die, I try to avoid talking about something from Open Heart in that same chapter because I consider these to be not spoiler free zones, but spoiler avoidant zones for other books.
Right.
So if I tell you we're going to record an episode on Foreign Affairs Chapter 3, we're going to talk about chapters 1 through 3 because they all build up on each other, but I'm not going to skip ahead to chapter 5. So if you click on an episode that says Foreign Affairs Chapter 3, we're going to be talking about chapter 3 and all the chapters before it, but we're not going to talk about Open Heart. We're not going to talk about Ride or Die. We're not going to talk about the Royal
Right.
Romance because I want listeners to be able to pop in and out of the content without feeling like they're going to spoil another book for themselves. So, this is not typically the type of conversation that I would leave in a podcast. I'm leaving this in this podcast because, number one, I don't think that calling Open Heart a medical drama book is a spoiler. Like, it literally says drama, like in its genre. And more so, I think it's also because I don't know at what point people are jumping into the podcast. So, one thing that it bears repeating is that Lucas is new to the app. He has
Hmm.
only read the chapters that we have recorded episodes on. Me, on the other hand, I have been a fan of choices for since 2017, 2018, right? So it's been a long time. For me, Foreign Affairs, again, I'm going to reserve judgment because I think that for the first two chapters of a book, you just kind of have to meet the writers halfway because they're trying to create this setting, they're trying to create characters that are believable. And sometimes when you're jumping brand new into a movie, like I try not to judge a show by the first 10 minutes of it because you just kind of have to you have to meet the writers halfway and like lean in
Hmm.
even if you're not feeling like it's unique or different or believable, because sometimes you do have to endure some cliches and endure some predictable settings in order to get to where the story wants it to go. So I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm not going to say that Foreign Affairs is a bad book. by any means. But what I will say is my first impression of the book is like, we've already been there and done this. Because there are at least 4 different series that I can think of Choices doing where it's based in school. And it feels like they made another book about school and like put a dash of politics in there.
A dash of scandal.
Right, a dash of scandal, a dash of politics, and college. Like, it just feels like we've done it before, and I fully like understand and respect the point of view that Lucas is coming from because he is not as immersed in all of the stories that Choices has put out. But for me, having played other stories that are based in like other college settings, it's not new to me. So do I think it's a bad book? No. And like I said, I'm going to reserve judgment until we're at least through chapter 3. But also at the same time, it just feels like a normal Choices book to me. Like it's just like, oh, this is your average experience with Choices.
Let's remember that many of our listeners and you have been dealing with Choices bullshit for a while now. And I'm just like the optimistic Bambi who doesn't realize that my mother's about to get shot.
Oh my god, these metaphors today are so like dire.
I just have a lot of blind optimism for these stories and for the different genres, no matter how in their face they are scandal. Like
And that's why I said it bears repeating. Like, I don't know. Someone could start listening to our podcast at episode 1, and someone could start listening at episode
Mhm.
4. Because
Right.
maybe they don't care to listen to a Ride or Die episode, or maybe they don't care to listen to a Mahar episode, but they really like foreign affairs. That's why I'm
Mhm.
going to keep repeating that, like, I'm a different type of Choices player than Lucas inherently because I have more experience.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
Lucas is a different type of Choices player for me because he's new. So the way that we're coming at this, and that's why I feel like it is interesting because you're coming at it with like fresh eyes, and I'm like the person who's been in like a 5-year relationship that's like, oh, this is what they always do.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like if we were in, what are these metaphors we're going in today? I'm just gonna do it. It's a weird metaphor. I'm just gonna say it. If we were in like a polyamorous relationship with Choices, I'm like the
Mhm.
main and you're the side. So I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, he thinks this is so exciting, but I've been there, done that.
I'm like, oh my god, that thing he did with his tongue. You're like, yeah, no, he does it like all the fucking time.
I'm like, you're gonna get used to it at some point, I promise. Ooh, have we mentioned this is the Not Safe for Kids podcast? It's not. If you are a child, you might want to ask your parents if you can listen to this.
Right.
Well, let's dive into the meat and potatoes. We talked about the chapter, we talked about the genres. Let's dive into the meat and
Mhm.
potatoes of the actual podcast.
Let's do it.
So when you start the chapter, you are taken to your character creation scene where you're able to pick your pronouns. So normally in most Choices books, this would be the location where you can pick your character's genders. But this is the first Choices book for, your knowledge that you can pick your character's pronouns, and a character can be non-binary, which is like a huge, huge step, I think, in like representation
Mhm.
for that community and just for like the app in general. I would be optimistic and say that we are going to see this in future books, and I think that we should.
Right.
But sometimes Choices has a hard time giving us more than one gender, much less they them pronouns. So, do I think it's realistic that they're going to continue doing this in new books? No. But I think it is something they should absolutely continue. Lucas, I will ask you, what type of character did you put together?
I did a he/him pronoun, POC, and I kept our default character's name.
I have a female bodied, I guess, because you can only pick 2. So there's like a
Right.
feminine and a masculine body. So I have a feminine body with they them pronouns and also person of color. I will be referring to our main character. Our main character's name is Kennedy Monroe. So when I'm not calling Kennedy by their first name, I'm going to be referring to the character as they them. The book starts with you backstage at a press conference, and Kennedy will think to themselves, like, this is the most important press conference of my entire life. So we're like already thrown into
Right.
this setting like
Into the damn Shark Tank.
exactly. So we learn a couple of things. We learn that Kennedy is a first child of one of the most powerful nations in the world. We're also introduced to a character named Winston, who is Kennedy's mom's presidential advisor. And then we can therefore conclude that Kennedy's mother is the leader of the country. By the way, I'm not going to say Kennedy's mom all the time. I'm just going to say mom because that's like a mouthful. It's just be easier on me personally.
Right.
So yeah, mom is leader of the country, aka the president, and Winston will give Kennedy advice, when you go into this press conference, answer the question that you want to answer, not necessarily the question that the reporters give you. So Kennedy goes onto the stage, and we learn that the story is set in Rutherland, which is a country in Western Europe. And then Kennedy will get on the stage and start talking about how they are always representing the country with like whatever actions they make. Kennedy can follow up that sentence by saying one of three options. I am embracing that responsibility. I'm showing everyone how to have fun, and I'm bringing the sexy back in politics. I bet you picked bring the sexy back in politics, Lucas.
I did. Because politics, they're just so freaking boring. And like, no one really cares about them if you're not sexy. So
Right.
obviously, I just felt like that was, I just
The
had to.
right and responsible choice to make.
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you really pick?
No, I could not wholeheartedly pick that. Definitely picked the first option. Especially because Monroe gave us this. Not Monroe, Lord, that's our last name.
Winston.
Mama's advisor. Mama's advisor. Definitely us that little speech of answer wholeheartedly, be your true self. And I don't know if that's the true self he was talking about.
Right. He was like, maybe don't bring the sexual side of you onto the stage.
Let's be grounded.
He's like, be yourself, but like responsible.
Right, and clothed.
Right. So, just for reference for everybody, when I am taking notes on like what we're going to talk about, and I play the chapter at the same time, so I'm like playing the chapter, taking notes at the same time, and then I also look up like YouTube playthroughs because I want to see how other people make their dialogue choices, because sometimes you'll notice if there's three options, a lot of people will tend to gravitate towards one or two, and then there'll be like a third one that you don't really see what their reaction is. So sometimes it's how I make my dialogue choices, not necessarily based off of like what I want to say, but because I'm just curious what is said if I can't find it through YouTube. So I'm assuming, Lucas, that you pick the I am embracing that responsibility dialogue choice.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you do pick that, there's really no unique dialogue option, like the character just keeps talking. A surprising amount of people picked bringing the sexy back in politics.
Oh my god.
In their YouTube playthroughs, and if you do this, Winston will like sigh like a disappointed father. It's like, there she goes, flashing everybody. Because, as Lucas explained earlier, Kennedy will say that young people find politics too boring and they need to find it exciting. And the quickest way to make politics riveting is to make it sexy.
Can't.
I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm just fucking kidding. Like, come on now. I just don't. It's like, I get it's called foreign affairs, and like affair is like, an innuendo and stuff, but come on, y'all. Come on now. This isn't the first time that Choices has given us like an overtly sexual dialogue choice. Come on now.
Right off the gate, like we literally have no preface. We not even done with introductions, and it's like
I don't know anything about this character.
anything about this character, and he's just like, I'm tired of you talking about my mama. Let's talk about how sexy I am and how.
Let's talk about these abs.
Okay.
These arms.
We can shape the political future with attractiveness. Like, what?
I can shape the political future with how strong my hands are. And then the second option, which is one I picked, is you can show everyone how to have fun. So Kennedy Kennedy will say that officials like work really hard and they need to be relaxed in order to make clear-headed decisions. Everyone just needs a spa day. Everyone just needs a foot rub. So either way, no matter what dialogue option you pick, Kennedy will announce that they wanted to go to Van Cross Institute, which is a college, we presume, where they will study international diplomacy. But apparently, their time at school hasn't necessarily gone to plan, and we learn that Kennedy has found themselves in a scandal. Who knew?
What? A scandal.
Oh my god.
Reading the synopsis and the genre that it was under, I would have not guessed that.
I would have never guessed that from like anything that they used to advertise this book. So Kennedy has gotten themselves into a scandal, and the reporters begin to heckle Kennedy, and the reporters ask them if they let down their country and their mother, and we also learn that Mom's polling numbers were affected by whatever the scandal was. So at this point, we're like, oh my god, it's a scandal. Oh my god, I wonder what happens. Hopefully they don't tell us so we can reserve a little bit of mystery.
One could hope.
One could hope. Come on, don't hand me everything on a plate. Let me put some stuff together, but nay, nay, nay. A reporter interrupts Kennedy and goes, "It was a full-blown sex scandal." And then Winston will like angrily end the conference. So yeah, within like the first 10 seconds of the book, we already know like what the main climax. Ooh, that's an innuendo.
That... Oh god.
We already know what the primary conflict is going to be.
Oh my god. I can't.
So yeah, we already know it's a sex scandal. Which, like, also in hindsight, since it's been revealed that it's a sex scandal, it is so fucking irresponsible to get up on that stage and be like, I'm bringing the sexy back in politics.
No, it's truly irresponsible, and I have to give a moment of silence to the players who were like, oh, let me jokingly put this, and then 2 seconds later, it's revealed that you were in a part of a sex scandal.
Very bad taste. Very bad taste. Like... to make a listen, I just want to preface that this is a book about politics, and I'm sure that the writers themselves took some liberties with taking inspiration from real life events that happen in the political sphere. Could you imagine if Bill Clinton got on stage and he was like, "It was good though.
It was good though.
It was good though. Come on now. Come on now. After a sex scandal, you gonna get up on there and flaunt it? Come on now." Like, that's mad inappropriate.
Oh my god. He would have literally gotten thrown out.
Bold of you, Lucas, to assume that the country actually cares about women that much, but... Those fucking reporters would have been high-fiving Bill for making that joke, let's be real.
Oh my god.
Man, people have clicked off. I just know. People have already left. They were like, oh, no, 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 no. Listen, Lucas and I are very, like, politically aware and, like, active.
Yeah.
And we try not to, like, browbeat anyone with our opinions. Like, I don't think... in the entire time we've been recording together, which this is our 4th episode together so far, like, we haven't brought up politics, I don't think.
No.
We've talked about, like, social issues, but not politics in general and how people should vote, right? Or even made references to, like, political figures. But, I mean, it's kind of the nature of the book. Like, there's just going to be certain things that happen in this book that's going to remind us of certain events. And like I said, I'm sure the writers, you know, pull some inspiration from stuff that's actually happened. But it's going to be a topic of conversation. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe the series ain't for you. I'm sorry. Like, you can go watch one of our future episodes on Open Heart or Write or Die.
Right.
We're going to make some references to real life political things that have happened because this is a podcast. We're not just here to just straight up talk about just the story content. Like, we're going to talk about what the possible inspiration could have been and why some of these choices might be appropriate or inappropriate in real life.
Right. We are here to speak our truth.
Absolutely. Then the book will take us to 6 weeks earlier. So this is a very common like hook that the writers use. They'll do like a flash forward of like, look at this terrible situation the main character is in, and it's meant to like hook the reader into like wanting to complete or read further into the books. That way they can get to that point at some point in the future. So this is like the second book that we've read that has done that to us.
Which I have to say, it's unrealistic and I don't appreciate it in this time setting because this scandal happens 6 weeks from when we initially start the chapter, which
Hmm.
just does not give you a lot of time because you're going to a university that is going to teach you how to be politically active and avoid scandals. And obviously, the courses are not that good because
Well, clearly Kennedy didn't study.
oh yeah, no, like literally didn't even open a book. And it gives me the mentality of like, fuck it, let me live my truth because I already know that I'm gonna end up in a sex scandal no matter what I do.
Correct.
If the
Yeah.
writers made it a little bit more mystery and just said that I was involved in a scandal and your actions throughout the gameplay dictate what type of scandal it would be, that would be different. But y'all know choices. They don't give you choices. They said you in a sex scandal, that's it, deal with it. So it
Hmm.
gives you almost freedom, honestly, to play the game how you envision the character and how you want this story to go.
Right. Because I do think that there is some truth to what you say, which is that if you know that regardless of what you do, you're going to end up in a scandal, it's like, why am I even sitting here trying to act prim and proper?
Right, right.
Like, I'm going to get in trouble for something sexual regardless, so I might as well play into the stereotype they're going to give me. So yeah, no, I 100% think that's fair. Anyone who's been with the Choices app for a lengthy amount of time is going to know that oftentimes what you think the choices that you make is going to make a difference, it really doesn't. Like we all end up at the same ending anyways.
Mhm.
So it's not like if you play a good character and you support your mommy, like everything's going to be fine. Like that's not what's going to happen. Kennedy is on a plane going to Van Cross Institute, and Winston will comment that this school is like a great opportunity for Kennedy to network with other future leaders. And Kennedy will say that they are attending a master's degree program, and we learn that Kennedy's mom did not drop them off because she's too busy with an ambassador meeting. So Kennedy can say two things to Winston. They can either say, well, mom has her duties, or it's only me that she says no to. What'd you pick?
I picked It's Only Me That She Says No To.
Okay. So you're like already
Yes.
drama with your mama.
Right off the bat, because I just envisioned also coming from like a personal standpoint, me and my mother, we don't have the best relationship.
Hmm.
I can't imagine living under such a political microscope that your mom is literally the president of a country. I can't imagine her making time for you.
I agree. I also think it makes it more interesting if you have this dynamic of like I'm going to school to please a mother that like I personally feel like hasn't really done anything for me recently.
Right.
Like it just makes a more interesting character than an MC who's like, no, I love my mom and like I totally understand why she's ignoring me.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it makes for a more believable conflict, a more interesting character. So if you do say that it's only me that she says no to, Kennedy will say that they wish that their mom put them first, and that Kennedy would have been happy with a low level position on mom's reelection campaign. And then if you do pick your mom has her duties, it's basically the same comments, but Kennedy just like the tone of it is like a little less bitter.
Hmm.
And then Winston will say that this school will be good for Kennedy since people want to see Kennedy a little bit more involved and mom wants him to gain allies for the peace summit. I think it's interesting. I can't really think of like another president where like their kids and family weren't involved and they were like, "No, we like want to see your children more involved." Like
Yeah, that's such a weird concept for me. Like, unless it's like a royal family, like just politically, we tend to say fuck them kids.
we call that nepotism. So I think it's interesting that like people want to see Kennedy more involved in politics. It's a little bit unusual for me.
Wait, Bush and Bush, right?
Oh my god. I'm sorry, y'all. We in our early 20s. There's only so many political references we can make. Let me tell you, I looked at our analytics lately, and we have like 1 or 2 people that are like 30 plus, and they probably rolling their eyes at us right now. They probably listen to this podcast like,
No, like
God,
dead
y'all so
ass.
fucking stupid.
Bush and Bush. That was Bush's dad was
You are
Bush's
absolutely
son.
correct.
I think it's more so this generation, millennial and on, I would say, that we don't like, we're not after the whole political family. I don't even know if that was more of like a mainstream newspaper type shit
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. Like, oh my god, Bush is running and his father ran.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I will say, like, I just know with like people in our age group that when it comes to like Obama's kids, like we'd be telling them to press, like, stop, like let him be. Why y'all still following him around with the camera like four
No, yeah,
years
they
after
be.
it's done?
Oh my gosh, she
Oh my
drinking.
gosh, she got caught
Yeah,
smoking weed,
like
and it's like, so did Obama when he was in college. She just acting like her daddy.
yes.
Like,
Okay.
I definitely feel like our generation is more so like nobody needs to feel like they have to follow in their parents' footsteps, but. And we also, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but their mom is hosting like a peace summit. So I guess there's like another event that we have to look forward to in addition to her sex scandal. And we also learned that Kennedy's placement in Van Cross is increasing mom's polling numbers.
Which again, does that give us enough time? Because I want to say he said the peace summit was in a couple months, right?
I think so.
Okay, we supposed to be at this university for years. Am I supposed to get these skills within this? Obviously not, because I'm
Freshman
in the sec.
orientation. You're going to be meeting everybody. Hello. My name's Kennedy. I don't know if you know this. My mom's the president of Rutherland. Hi.
Like, are the elitists, are like political influencers who are all about to be in this summit? Are they all in the same homeroom
Oh.
together?
They all take the same electives. It's also so funny because like the other aspect of this is that they're like, yeah, you need to make allies for the peace summit, which like to me, the point of making allies, because they're all like young adults, right? None of
Right,
them are leaders of a country yet, and none of them hold like a position in office because they're a student. So it's like the
right.
peace summit in a couple of months, like to me, the intent of networking at a college is so that years down the line you have contacts you can like rely on. But
Yes,
Winston out here,
yes.
like, you better make friends and you better hope that those friends can influence their parents' decision.
Right. And that is just that's so much pressure.
Does it, like, let's be real. From what we know about mom so far, does it sound like anything Kennedy says is gonna help, like, make her change her mind about anything?
Right,
She,
right.
they barely talk to their mom, like, but we supposed to make friends so that way, like,
We can make her look good.
is there a political leader in the history of existence that has ever decided, nah, I'm not gonna bomb that country because they do sleepovers sometimes, so I'm gonna leave them alone? Come on now. That's ridiculous. There's no world leader that's gonna change their decision based off of, oh, they used to be on the same volleyball team in school.
Yeah, like come on. Like
There's way more at risk here than, oh, we used to eat lunch together.
imagine our character, Kennedy, at the university,
Hmm.
and you come across another strong political influence, I guess I would
Uh-huh.
say, you know, and they're like, wow, like I have this class, I really need help on this final, and you're like, listen, I have the answers, right? And they're like,
Right.
really? And it's like, yeah, but it's gonna cost you. It's gonna be
Oh.
an IOU.
Oh.
Okay.
Mhm.
10 years in the future, you kill their officials, right?
Okay.
World War III is about to start. And they wanna, you know, pop shit with you, and you're just like, listen, hey, you remember that? You remember those answers I gave you 10 years ago?
I know, right? Like
you
you have your lead assassin with their gun to their head, and they're like, "No, but I helped you get an A in astrophysics."
It was like, oh, call it off.
God damn it, boys, move out.
Move.
We're going home. He bought me coffee one time.
They transform like Transformers and just like roll out. Like, yeah, so truly, it's just so like, how much interaction and how valuable is this interaction that you think it's really going to shape the future that much?
As someone who also networked in college, like I can tell you for a fact that I don't talk to every single person that I networked with today.
Right.
So Kennedy will admit that they're not sure if they want to go into politics. So Kennedy can say one of two things. They can either say there are so many other careers, or I will always be in my mom's shadow. Which one do you pick?
I said that I don't know if I even want to be in politics,
Okay.
because I feel like by him stating that he doesn't want to live in his mother's shadow, it's just kind of setting up like a bitter tone, like a almost like a negative connotation. Because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you can cast your own light, like you can be brighter than what your mom has paved. Definitely in the future, because things are constantly changing. And I just feel like if someone really had a passion and dedication, they always want to be better than whoever they're trying to like whoever their mentor is. Like you always want to, thrive above them. And for Kennedy just to make that comment, I'm like, already it just feels like you're not really that passionate about it.
I also think that your parents having the same career as you is almost always going to be more beneficial than it is harmful.
Oh yeah, most def.
Like, your mama would have to fuck up, like, big, big time.
Yeah, like big, like
In order for Kennedy to not benefit from that. Because I think automatically, like, if you think about some of the most controversial leaders we've ever had, there's always been people who, up until the end, supported them.
oh yes, like most def.
So you're going to have a voter base that is way bigger than, like, say an AOC who like had to do like grassroots funding to like
Hmm.
even get their campaign off the ground, you know?
Hmm.
And also like a career in politics, like your family gonna have money, like you gonna be fine. Your family's gonna be fine. And that will just mean you start off with funds that are like even more beneficial for you to kick off your career with, right? If you do pick there are so many other careers, Kennedy will say they've never had the chance to experience anything else. They don't know if this is a career they want, which is fair. Like Kennedy's 22, probably has never held like a real job before. So how would you know if this is the right career for you? Like I had those thoughts in college. I think everyone has those thoughts in college.
Hmm.
If you do pick I'll always be my mom's shadow, Kennedy will ask how they're supposed to compare to a president as a 22-year-old, and Winston will say that Kennedy will kind of grow into their own. Winston will say that this is a chance for Kennedy to get some clear in their future, which I think this is a master's degree.
Yeah.
I understand Kennedy's family got money and they're privileged and whatnot. Master's degree is not for you to figure out what you want to do. I mean, I get irritated by this suggestion even when it comes to like your bachelor's degree, but I get especially irritated for a master's degree
Hmm.
because it's just like if you try and get your master's degree to figure out what the fuck you want to do, like I'm sorry, you've already fucked up in my opinion.
Yeah, truly.
I get it. Candy's family has money, they have prestige, they have power. As someone who grew up with like not the type of money that would allow me to just go to school multiple times, like it's pretty fucking irritating to like see that dialogue showing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And also the dialogue from Winston would imply that maybe at the end of the book we get to make a decision on whether we stay in politics or not, because he's like, yeah, this is an opportunity for you to figure out what you want to do. I mean, here's the thing. Did we make a joke earlier that choices doesn't really have choice? I mean, yes, but they have in a few instances in the past allowed someone to kind of pick the ending at the very end of the book, so maybe that'll be a choice. I don't know.
Only time can tell.
Precisely. Winston will kind of like leave you with their stylist because he's like, we're about to arrive on campus. I propose that we do our first fashion review.
Oh, let's do it.
This is a request when I first started off the podcast like a year and a half ago. Like, this is a request that we got from people to do a fashion review. And I think it's an interesting prospect. So I have sent you two photos. The first one being a photo of the diamond outfit on a female body, and then the second one on a more masculine body.
Hmm.
So let's do this. First of all, let's just describe the outfit. Let's start with the feminine body first. Let's describe what it looks like. And if you do
Okay.
want to see the photo for our listeners, I'll have all of our episode notes posted on playchoicespodcast.tumblr.com, and we have a separate tab where you can see our episode notes. So you can go there and see it yourself. But Lucas, let's just start off describing what the outfit looks like.
Okay, so for the female bodied character, we have a nice blue, almost blazer type jacket. The sleeves come to about 3/4 and it's a standard navy blue, maybe royal blue type color. There are hints of gold on the sleeves, on the pockets, on the waistband, and the buttons as well. And this goes perfectly with the gold jewelry that she is sporting, a gold watch and a gold wristband. She has a white undershirt that is collared with a cowboy type bow tie. And it has a gold what would you call that? Buckle
Yeah,
on
a
it
buckle
as
to the
well.
tie. Yeah. And then look at the masculine body.
hmm So the masculine outfit. We still have that royal navy blue type color scheme as far as the blazers go, with the gold buttons as well. And he is sporting a gold watch, but this character differs with white slacks, which just gives me a lot of anxiety. And he has a white and blue striped collar shirt with a hint of color, sporting a red handkerchief hanging out of the little tissue pocket of the blazer,
The breast pocket, as one might
the
say.
breast pocket,
And did you mention the watch?
the gold watch on his wrist.
Yes. So now we have painted a very vivid image of what this all looks like. Let's just talk about the outfit in general. Let's not talk about whether you took it or whether you think it's worth the diamonds. Just say yay or nay. Like,
Okay.
what is your first impression seeing this outfit? Are you like, this person is a future political leader?
No. So the female bodied outfit, it was a nay. I said this person is a future flight attendant.
Oh,
Maybe it doesn't help that the background is in fact a plane.
you know what? You are right. I do feel like the background is like leading us a bit.
It is, especially with the female bodied outfit.
hmm
And the male bodied outfit, it's barely a nay. You needed a 70 to pass the class, you got a 69.
Oh.
Gives me just very pool boy, very, country club vibes. Very High School Musical 2, Sharpay's little country club for the summer, Troy Bolton, Zac Efron vibes.
I agree with you. I do feel like I like the masculine outfit a bit more than I like the feminine outfit. Like, I just appreciate there's a little bit more like, I feel like the feminine outfit is just like very monotone with like little hints of color, whereas I feel like the feminine out or the masculine outfit is more well balanced. Has
Yes,
a good
yes.
balance of like blues and whites with a little pop of color with the red, which I appreciate. So my question to you, this outfit is worth 12 diamonds. Okay. Are we splurging or are we skipping?
We're gonna skip this. We're skipping.
Okay. So you did not buy the outfit.
I did not buy the outfit.
Neither did I. I feel like the reasons are obvious because I have a feminine bodied character and that outfit is like even less attractive than a masculine bodied one. So Kennedy arrives on campus for us in our peasant clothes because we didn't spend 12
hmm
diamonds. And we are
No,
immediately
no.
surrounded by cameras. So, by the way, there's a lot of talk about like paparazzi in this episode. I'm just gonna call them paps because I can't be bothered to say the whole word. So there, we're introduced to a pap. His name is Mike Williams, and he is a pap. How many times can I say that in like 5 minutes? Let's count. 3. For Stalker Media, which I'm sorry, I just have to pause the name of that, the name of that company.
No, truly.
Stalker Media, and he will make a comment on your outfit, and Kennedy can either say, I'd rather I'd rather talk about this opportunity, or don't you have something else to do? What did you say?
I said, let's talk about the opportunity that this can give me.
Okay. If you do pick that option, Kennedy will say that they're excited to learn, and then Mike will say that you speak like a president's child. And if you say, don't you have anything else to do, which is what I picked, Kennedy will say that they should focus on real news, and Mike will say that he'll get even more clicks when he mentions how short Kennedy's being with him.
Oh my god.
Mike will mention Ardona, which is a country who we seem to have some conflict with. Another limo arrives with the Ardonian flag, And we learn that no one in Kennedy's security team knew that someone from Ardona would be attending Van Cross, which is like, come on now, y'all don't have better intel?
No, really though, really. Like Kennedy's like, you said she wouldn't be here. Like
I'm like, don't y'all have like the equivalent of like the FBI or something? Like y'all didn't know? How good is Ardonia at keeping the secret? And you couldn't even pay off someone in the college to tell you that someone from Ardonia was going to be attending the college? Come on. Come on now. Come on. We need better surveillance in this. One of the greatest nations in the world, and we can't figure out if the child of our enemy is attending the same college.
Kennedy's looking at the security team like, I don't trust you can keep me safe. Like
Precisely. Precisely. Which is honestly the absolute vibe from like the total chapter, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, this is the first time that Kennedy's learning that someone from Ardona is going to be attending Van Cross, and whoever is coming out of the limo ends up flipping off the paps, right? So we get a little bit of, I guess I say, like foreshadowing into who this character is going to be. Obviously someone who isn't like prim and proper like you can choose to be if you're Kennedy. Hi everyone, this is V in Post. I am editing this episode to let you know that it is where we're going to be ending this week's episode. If you recall, in episode 4, we discussed running a poll asking if people would be okay with us splitting episodes that are over an hour and a half into 2 parts, and 50% of you said yes. So I guess you're welcome to that half, and my apologies to the half who voted for no. Additionally, we had some technical issues recording an episode this weekend, and splitting an episode will allow us to stay on track with posting content every week, so I do appreciate your understanding in advance. Next week, we'll be sharing our thoughts on Kennedy's on-campus experience, our thoughts on our quote-unquote rival Blaine, also who we think Tatum could be, and where we think our LI routes will take us. And of course, Bingo. You can't forget Bingo. Also, you get to hear Lucas sing, so you don't want to miss out on that. Please go check us out on all of our socials, at playchoicespodcast on Instagram, at playchoicespod on Twitter, and then you can also look at our Tumblr page. It is playchoicespodcast.tumblr.com. This is also where I post any episode notes, like links to posts I've mentioned, photos I've mentioned, etc. We're available for listening on all major platforms. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate, review, and subscribe. It's a funky thing with the algorithm, but it does help us more than you know. And if you give us a review, I will shout you out on the podcast. You can leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/play-choices-podcast/message, and it could show up in a future episode. And you can also directly support this podcast at anchor.fm/play-choices-podcast/support. It is definitely not a requirement of listening to this episode, but if you do want to support the free content that we put out every week, it would be appreciated. All of the money would go towards recording equipment and other things that would help us improve the quality of the podcast. So thank you in advance if you decide to. If you have any questions, theories, or comments, please email us at playchoicespodcast@gmail.com, and we'll try to respond in the next episode. Again, thank you for being understanding about us splitting this in half. I think the content in the next episode is really exciting, and it's just a lot of really great discussion, so I can't wait until next week when you all can hear it. All right, toodles, bye.